can immerse yourself in peace and find once more the treasure store that's filled with all you need. There will be time, it won't be long, when you can dance and sing your songs. Take courage now and hold my hand, and together this war will be won. Together this war will be
Very good. Well, good evening and a very special warm welcome. This is, I guess, an unusual spring night, if we can call it that. Feels like winter again. And for those of you on Zoom, I'm sure you are warm. And a very special welcome to you as well, but especially those who are here for our Thursday night presentation. So I'm assuming that the topic brought you out. So we should take a look and see what it is we are talking about tonight. So the talk is on healing emotions, finding peace beneath the waves. I'd rather that you think of this as something interactive, not as a talk. So we will be talking to each other because I want to know what is beneath your waves. And if you haven't looked, that's what we want to do tonight. So emotions can uplift us or overwhelm us, depending on how we understand and manage them. The session offers gentle spiritual tools to observe, accept, and transform emotional pain into strength. Learn how to heal from within by connecting with your original nature of peace and love. Through guided meditation and reflection, experience how calm awareness brings emotional clarity. True healing begins when we stop resisting our feelings and start listening to them with compassion. So you and your feelings are not the same. And you should not, you shouldn't let your feelings determine how well you are. Because that way you won't be able to manage them because you and your feelings would be the same. And too often we are our feelings. So we have feelings. We are not our feelings. So that's a good place. That's a good place to start. And of course, the assertion being made here is that your original nature is peace and love. Is that true for you? Do you think of yourselves as peace and love? Because if you do, then there's nothing else. we can just end the session right here. So let's see how we can find out why that is not being made manifest without, because we're asserting that it's who we are. And we want to be able to make that manifest without. And meditation, of course, is the way to find yourself. And actually, there is something I read recently, which is very appropriate. Yourself is the only thing you need to find. Everything else can be Googled. But you do have to find yourself. You can put your name in on Google, but that wouldn't tell you who you are. It will tell you maybe what you've been up to, what you've been doing. But of course, we want to look at how you are being and how you are being. And so this original self, this nature of peace and love resides in the being, of course. And meditation can help you to discover that. And so what is it that we are looking for? What is it that when we go within, that we'll find the means to bring, what is it that we're bringing to the surface? Well, peace and love, for sure. And there are at least 5 other essential qualities that we point out. There are more, but these are the essential ones. And when you go within, you're finding that unlimited supply of what you need to make manifest in the world that we're living in, so that when you show up, that shows up, and not worry and fear and anxiety and anger and mistrust and all the other things that's causing so much divisiveness and violence and despair. Those are the times we're living in, and they are prevalent everywhere. It's not a question of where you are, but who you are. And when we can bring to that environment that true self, that being, when we find the peace beneath the waves, then that's how we'll be able to show up. And so when we think of the self, we want to identify who we essentially are. Because on the surface, we identify with all of what is really temporal. You know, our name, our nationality, our profession, our possessions, our class and height and size and color and weight and all of the things that are temporary. And who we are is not subject to change. And so what you want to remember as we go through this conversation tonight is that you are changeless. You're not subject to change. You're changeless. You are timeless. You are bodiless. You are endless. And so once you can begin to see yourself that way, then your perspective and your relationships and your connections is reflected in how you see yourself. Because how you see yourself is how you see others. So if you see yourself as joyful, if you see yourself as peaceful, if you see yourself as pure and powerful, if you see yourself as loveful, if you see yourself as truthful and knowledgeful, then that's all there is. And that is essentially who you are. So what has happened? Where has that gone? What has caused you to not have the perspective that allows you to show up that way? And of course, the way we show up, the kind of energy field that is represented by the perspective that we have is what impacts those who are coming into contact with us. So if you show up that way, you will attract those only on that same wavelength. Because of course we are walking, breathing antennas, and our vibrations is what determines that energy field. Most of who we really are is not what we see, is what we experience and what others experience. Because of course, the being uses the body not the other way around. See, as we keep reminding you all the time, you don't have a soul, you are a soul, and you have a body. And of course, from that perspective, you understand that when you look in the mirror, you are the seer. You are not the seen. You are the listener, not the sound. You are the experiencer, not the experience. And so from that perspective, you can take responsibility for what you're experiencing and change it. In other words, the realization that we need to have and maintain is that we are responsible for the environment that we are experiencing. So I'm sorry to say the mess that we're in, guess who created it? Guess who's responsible for that? Now, it doesn't mean that you are bad and wrong and terrible. It is just that we have, over time, identified with the physical. And of course, the physical is subject to entropy and decay. And that informing how we see ourselves, then we've developed all kinds of fear of each other, fear of the world, even fear of the very body that we're in, because we have identified with it to the extent that when we begin to have to deal with its own demise, we identify with that as well. But you've always been here, and you're not going anywhere. So what you do have control over, which is all that you need to have, is how you show up now and hereafter as well. But that requires taking responsibility for now. We can't do anything about the past, but having the awareness that you are and can be a cause all the time will change everything. And that's what we want to do this evening in the 40 minutes that we have. Are you ready? How about you on Zoom? Are you ready? Or you want things to remain the same for you? Because remember, the change starts with us. And I know you've heard it said, you have to be the change that you want. So when you change, the world changes. So, because we've made it this way, and now we have to take responsibility for the way it is and take all the necessary steps, starting with ourselves, to do that. So you think we can do that in the next 40 minutes? The folks here who braved the weather says we can. How about you on Zoom? Any thoughts on this matter?
Yes, we can try.
You can try. All right. All right. So we definitely want to try. And so you are the being. You're not the body, right? You are the I think, can you bring the board? I think we'll try to illustrate it and see if that will help. Because it's the understanding intellectually is the easy part. The hard part is putting it into practice. Can the folks on Zoom see this? Okay, I'll fix the comments. Yeah, they don't have to see me. They can hear me.
You need to make the board move to the right, left, sorry.
To the left, to my left.
Not
All right.
your,
I
yeah.
think
Toward you.
I think Jose is going to do something with the camera. I think that's
Oh, okay. Oh, this is good. Excellent.
that's good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's you. You're the star. You are the you are the invisible. You don't see driverless cars very often in New York, but when you see them, people are usually in awe, or maybe even worse, really afraid. I mean, you see this vehicle come up and stop at the light, and you're supposed to cross in front of it, and there's no driver there. But you take a chance, and because everybody else is doing the same thing, and then the light changes, and it goes, and it turns, and is maneuvering in and out of traffic, and you're like, oh my, what is going on there? Well, of course, you know intellectually that there's a remote driver there, and you've had enough experience with technology that you figure that it must be okay, but you're still in awe of it. Well, guess what? If you look around you right now, and when you go out from here, you're going to see a lot of two-legged vehicles without a driver. The driver is invisible. Well, why aren't you in awe? You should be going, what is going on there? In fact, why aren't you in awe of yourself? So I am called Ananta. That's so I can be distinguished from Jose and from Achal. But that's not me. That's who I am. This is what I am. I use Ananta so you can hear me. Because without this body, I can't be heard. And won't be able to see you, and you see me. So you are this two-legged vehicle with an invisible driver. And what you're managing this body with, no, I'm not an artist by any means. So there's what we know as the intellect. the mind and the sanskars, which you might think of as your hard drive with um, all of the actions that you perform, and it really impacts how you show up. But you have a mind, right? How do you know? Have you seen it? And you have an intellect, because that kind of tells you what to do with these thoughts that are showing up. Because remember, the mind is where all of your thoughts, from where all of your thoughts emanate. And you can think of these as your subtle organs, just like you're this point of light, you can't be seen, but these are just as real, right? Your mind is having thoughts all the time. Now, having thoughts and thinking is not the same thing. We're always having thoughts. But you do the thinking. You decide what thoughts to put into practice. And you also get a lot of help from the intellect in determining whether you should bother with those thoughts or not. And of course, the sanskars, which is, you might think of it as well, like I said, it records all of the actions you've ever taken. So it forms your character. Forms your character. But if you're going to change, these have to change, because a lot of our behavior are habitual. And so what we're attempting to do this evening, what we're going to try to do, is to put you in charge. But it means that you have to be aware all the time of the thoughts that you're having, and not only the mundane, habitual thoughts that you function to do what has become pretty routine in your life, but what is the motivation for your actions? What it is that you are aware of? Because of course we have the mind is, there's the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious, right? And where you might say where the action is in the subconscious. Because a lot of what you need to be aware of, you don't think about. Just like you are aware of the season. You don't have to really think about that. I mean, sometimes we get some surprises, like today, but you're aware of the season. You know what season it is. You're aware that you are a female. You are aware of your nationality. It's not something that you think about, and that's what is informing your actions. But what you want to inform your actions is what we just talked about. What you want to inform your actions is that you are love, and that you are peace, and that you are truth, and that you are love, and that you are powerful, and knowledgeable. That's why you can operate that body and nobody, and you're not seen. How powerful is that? You probably think that, wow, the engineers that put that together, they must be really special. What about you? And so what's required for us to have you be able, or for us to fulfill this promise to you tonight, where it says you have to reconnect with your original nature of peace and love and truth and your essential self. What's required is that you are aware that you are not the body. That has to be in your awareness. And that this and this and this, those are, you might say, might think of it as a government. Those are your three main ministers. They have to carry out your instructions. They have to put in place what it is that you want to have happen. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is that we're identifying with the body and we're on automatic just about all the time. And there is no constant connection that allows us to ultimately, what we use meditation to do is to become self-sovereign, to be able to manage the self, which means you're able to manage your thinking. And for you to be able to do that, you need that detachment. So you need to, when you sit back for meditation, you need to remember. This is about remembering. You need to remember who you already always are. You are the source, bodiless, changeless, endless. And when you can see yourself that way, you will not only be in awe of yourself, but you will begin to experience that you're also powerful. And all of this power that we have surrendered to the physical and to the technology, we begin to appreciate that all coming from here. And so you can do that tonight. You can start that process tonight. And when you start that process, you'll be able to bring this emotional clarity. Because what is happening now is that there is no clarity. We are really confused. We're hanging upside down. We're hanging upside down. You know, if you had an accident on the street, something fell on you, and the EMS came by, and you said, "Well, you know, I'm okay. I couldn't go on." But before they let you go, they will want to know some answers to some questions. They'll say, "Well, who are you?" And you would tell them, and they would say, well, do you know what time it is? Okay. Do you know where you were going? Okay. Do you know where you were coming from? So if you're able to answer those questions accurately, they say, okay, well, you don't have a concussion. You can go. Well, if the spiritual EMS, if the spiritual EMS were to stop any of us on the street, we wouldn't get those questions right. We would answer just about all of those questions wrong. Because when people ask you, who are you? You say, well, I am Ananta. That's not who I am. That's my name. And sometimes they might even say, you might even say to the question, well, I'm an accountant, or I'm female. It's just the body you're in. So you're getting all the questions wrong that would require the EMS to let you go. So we we all need to be taken in and treated. And guess what? This is the place. You found it. And you don't have to have health insurance. We don't even we don't we don't even ask you your name when you come in here. We have two folks here tonight that have never been here. I recognize you immediately. Two-legged vehicles with an invisible driver. So that made you welcome. So this is the place. So the EMS, the spiritual EMS, directed you here. And so we have to begin this detachment. We have to begin to reverse all of the conditions under which we've been operating. All this confusion, because we're really hanging upside down. And in order for that to change, well, then we have to go within now and start identifying with the original you, the essential you, with the being. And when that emerges, everything will change. Everything will change. Because as my favorite quote from a guy I used to read a lot, Wayne Dyer, I'm never weary of reminding us of what he said. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So that power to change is over here, not over there. And so we want to get to know you. And so you found the hospital, and it's free of charge. Our doors are open almost all the time. And this is the operating room. And you do the work yourself. You do the work yourself. And all it requires is silence. And silence is your most powerful state of being.
So we are here, we haven't given the wrong answer to the spiritual EMS.
That's right. That's why you got directed here. That's why you got directed here. You know, there's a song, Silence is Golden. Well, that's just part of the quote. The whole quote is that words are silver, silence is golden. Words are silver, so that you're at your most powerful when you're silent, when you are, I guess when you're silent, when you're not in that body, when you're bodiless. The thing we fear most, leaving our body is what we fear most, and that's really what we ought to embrace. Because we're trapped in this body, and then we turn over all of the control to the body. You know? It's like if you stay in those chairs long enough and you start to identify with the chair, you start saying, I am a chair. It is.
One asking, what did S stand for on the road?
Oh, samskaras. Think of it as oh, s- s- S-A-R-S. Samskars. Oh, that's terrible. I can't draw or write on the board. It's a Sanskrit word, but we're talking about the characteristic, what defines you based on all of your actions. Because every action that you've ever performed there's a record of that. And that's what they say that you can't take it with you. Well, they mean this. And the car and the money and the husband and whatever else you value. Well, this goes with you. You know, there's a song, you can't hide from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are. No matter what body you're in, it's still you. But you can be pure again. You can be loveful again. You can be joyful again. And all that has to happen is that we have to remove all of what we've accumulated that doesn't belong there. You know, when you go on a journey somewhere and you return home, and I mention that because we're at that point where we are at the end of our cycle, if you will. The way things are right now indicates that because we're not doing anything that's sustainable. And so this journey for us is at that point where where there's going to be a reset. And now is the time, which is why the spiritual EMS has sent you here. So that you can have that spiritual reset. Because we're at the point where we have to return to that original self, make the world right again, make the world new again, make you new again. And so we can start that journey tonight. That's what we want to do. So let's have a little meditation. And then I will see what questions you might have. And we will get you on your way. So just go within. Silence is your incubator. So listen in. You'll hear the sounds of your body. And remember, you are the listener, not the sound. But you want to go beyond the sound. You want to go beyond the sounds of your body and discover that silent place, wherever that is for you. Could be between the eyes. It could be in the vicinity of the heart. Wherever you find that place that you can listen. And experience that silent space. And you will feel that sense of peace. The body will relax on its own. It will breathe itself. And slowly remind yourself who you are. I am joy. I am joyful. I'm full of joy. I am peace. I'm full of peace. Peaceful I am. And I am pure, untouched, unspoiled, untarnished. I am full of power, powerful beyond imagination. Love I am. I have so much love to give. I am loveful. And I am full of truth. I am truthful. Straight as an arrow. knowledgeful I am, and full of knowledge. I am a peaceful soul in the company of peaceful souls all around me. This bodiless, timeless, changeless, endless, I am beyond harm. I have no need to be afraid. And I create my world in my image of peace and purity and love and understanding. I have no need to worry, no anxiety, no distrust, no enmity, no resentment, no anger. All is well. All is as it should be. Om Shanti. So are you there yet? A little bit? Yeah. Well, so you want to keep going in that direction. You want to go there as often as possible until that becomes so familiar that you are in awe of yourself. And then others will be in awe of you, because that's the environment, that's the space that you will create, and others will show up in that space. They're showing up in the space you're creating right now. So you want to change that and change everything and everyone around you. That's how powerful you are. We have to connect with that. We have to connect with that. So those of you on Zoom, are you with us? Are you there yet?
Yes.
Wonderful. 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 Would anyone like to share any thoughts they're having? Yes.
First of all, thank you for this talk. I didn't even know what the subject was tonight, but it's my first time back in over a year being here, and it felt very serendipitous, I suppose. But I suppose the thing that I want to share is
Do we have that,
I think they get that microphone.
yeah, because we want you to share that with everybody. So just have to,
It's picking up and what's from
okay.
there. Yeah, you can leave it on the.
can everyone hear me? I hope so.
Can you hear on Zoom?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I suppose what I want to share is that what I've been struggling with lately is feeling energetically sucked because of this constant search for meaning
Mhm.
and purpose. And I think what you're getting at in the lecture that you just gave is that you receive or tap into that energy simply by understanding the essence of who you are.
Mhm.
And that energy and that knowing of who you are is what creates
Yeah.
meaning and purpose. And I think I've been viewing it backwards, which has drained me energetically. But sitting here and meditating in the feelings of what you're expressing helps me realize that I can access that energy at any time. And I guess what I still struggle with, though, is I want to fight against or rebel against the idea that there isn't more than that.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up for me, is like this thought of what's there, what's more.
Well, once you stop looking for it from outside,
Mm.
that changes everything. Because then the power is in your hands. And that's where it's always been, by the way. So with meditation and introversion, that puts you in touch with it in a very meaningful way.
Mhm.
And then you become what you always are, which is this eternal being that is indestructible. You're just this energy. And of course, the sciences have already told you that energy can be transformed, but it can't be destroyed. So when you have that perspective, what's there to be afraid of? This will go. And so will the chair and the car and the house and all of those things there. And that's why we encourage you to relate to them as trustees, something for you to use. It's part of why you're here, to be entertained and to experience and to express. But this is not home. You're just passing through from time to time. And in fact, that's why when you go home, just like when you go abroad and come back in, you know, there's a customs guy that says that you can't bring that in here. You gotta leave that. You gotta leave that outside, you know. There's a spiritual customs officer as well. All right. So it's not what you need that's going to alter your condition, is what you have to get rid of. There's really nothing that you need. It's what you have to discard. Anyone on Zoom?
Brother, I like your metaphor of a two-wheel driverless vehicle.
Yes.
Never heard of that before. I knew only four-wheeler driverless, but not the two-wheel.
And you've been interacting with them all the time. Not even seeing the driver.
Yeah, right. I did never realized that.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, the hour has passed and we're sorry to see you go, but the hospital is always open. Okay, you don't need, like I said, you don't need, you have to sign in, you don't need any insurance.
I also like this one, EMS, spiritually EMS. Very interesting.
Anytime when there is all of what you need is right here. So regardless of what's happening in Washington or elsewhere, this is your oasis of peace and comfort and joy and restoration. And when you leave here tonight, take that with you. So when you go back home, they'll say, "Where have you been? What happened to you?" They should be asking you that. What have you been up to? And you tell them where you were. And let them know they are all welcome. Okay? So thank you very much, you on Zoom. And a special thank you for those of you who are here. And
Thank you.
I hope you're all on our mailing list where you can get our monthly agenda and stay in touch.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Thank you.